This Gateway-Portland NASCAR 2024 weekend betting recap edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 100 times your entry with the Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. We are also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
One of the only things keeping me from beating the bleep out of a lot of people today is talking NASCAR. We are doing that here on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Cody, buddy, we had a great weekend. Okay, we had a weekend of racing, and we're here to talk about it and break down our bets as normal. But, yeah, buddy, I mean, listen, we had high hopes for this weekend. Parts of it delivered. Parts of it came up short. But I think overall, I watched this weekend of racing.
It was actually pretty good racing across all three series too. So I hope you have your beat button ready, Rod. I've got a new guy on the shit list. No longer going to even say his fucking name. So yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that race, of course.
Yeah, again, so if you missed it and if you're just kind of joining us after, I don't know why you joined a recap if you didn't watch the races, but it is, of course, the Gateway and Portland weekend where the series were split, right? The trucks and the Cup guys were in the St. Louis area at the Gateway at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, and then the Xfinity guys were playing up in the Pacific Northwest in Portland. That
Wile E. Coyote, did you see, Rod, his appearance?
Dude, that
was so crazy. Just cars racing by and a coyote just running through the course, like right across the track, just whatever, just, like, oh, okay, hello.
Well, and I've seen like bunnies and squirrels and other things on.
We had like fox before and stuff, but like a fucking coyote. Okay.
Hey, dude, he loves NASCAR just as much as the rest of everybody, and didn't seem phased by the 36 cars whizzing by him at 100 and something miles an hour.
He wanted that front row seat.
I think he wanted to win the race. I think he was like, "Where's my number? I want to get in on that." And what's funny is that I didn't even go and check this time, but more often than not, when they do that, when animals run across, the first thing somebody does is start a Twitter account for that particular animal. I didn't see if there was a Portland Fox Twitter account or something. Portland NASCAR.
Portland Coyote. There you go.
Portland Coyote. That was what. So yeah, somebody, if you find that Twitter account, throw it in our chat, because I actually want to follow that one to see if it continues to tweet long after this race is over.
That'd be great.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, but again, we had all three series in action, and we had all three in different places. We'll obviously break down all of the bets that we made on them and talk through each one of those. But let's tell you about the NBA Finals. The tip-off is this week, and we're giving away $100 cash and $100 gift card to the listener who wins our NBA Final Prop Contest. You want in? Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA Finals to enter. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA Finals. You may notice, for those of you who pick up on such things, my voice is lacking a little bit of that thunderous applause that I don't know what it is about this week. I don't know, maybe it was the karaoke last Sunday that still hasn't gone away yet. Maybe it's allergies. Maybe I'm just losing my voice, but definitely struggling to talk. Hopefully Cody can pick me up on that aspect. And my brother talking about, he was asking what position the Coyote finished.
He might have beat a couple of guys we bet on, Rod.
Sure, he beat
talk about that when we get there. One thing I wanted to touch on too, obviously, this is not the season where NASCAR is running their actual in-season tournament, but the Denny Hamlin bracket, of course, is going on. We filled out our brackets on Friday. RIP to your bracket winner because he's out already, Rod.
What the?
But just to show, case in point for how exciting that will be, this was kind of a normal track, right? Just a normal, regular, should be chalky finish. Like not even in Atlanta, which I believe is going to be in that, challenge next year, and other things that can really throw things off. We had a 31 beat a 2 in Austin Dillon beating Martin Truex. I guarantee very few people had that. We didn't even hardly discuss that one. John Hunter Nemechek beat Alex Bowman, Rod, as a 25 over an 8. Noah Gragson was a 21 over a 12, and Ryan Blaney one lap shorter, and Ryan Blaney would have won the race, but ends up getting bounced out. So next year, that would have not only cost him a win, quote unquote, lock him into the playoffs, all of this, but it would have cost him $1 million, a chance at $1 million as well. Austin Cindric, the 20 over the 13, beat Bubba Wallace. Joey Logano over Briscoe was technically an upset at 17 over 16. Maybe not such an upset in some people's eyes, but just kind of goes to show you already like how much fun this bracket challenge is going to be next year, where it's for that $1 million and where TV is actually going to be talking about it. I think it was Jeff Gluck mentioned on their the teardown about like, they would be bringing up those types of scenarios, right? Like, oh, Martin Truex Jr. just wrecked. Like now he's 2 laps down, and look, Austin Dillon's racing him to try and move on to the next round. Like adds those storylines. So that's going to be a lot of fun next season to keep an eye on as well.
Your definition of fun and mine are completely different. It was not fun at all to watch that bracket play out. I swear. I mean, if I had a foam break, Cody, I'm telling you, I would throw that thing would be worn out because it'd be thrown at the TV so damn much. I can't. There's so many things I was tracking, not the least of which was trying to figure out whether or not that bracket was going to get busted right away. Which, by the way, hey, listen. We're not even a weekend. Well, we're barely a weekend, and I don't got to worry about it anymore. So hooray for me. Now I can just kind of watch all the rest of you guys sweat it out.
There you go. It's one of those things. If you're not going to win it, might as well get bounced out early, right?
Yeah,
get out early, get on the couch and watch the rest of the playoffs from home.
Hey, that's probably the only best place to do it at this point. So yeah, that's oh my God. Yeah. And that does add a little bit of spice to all of it as well, because what's funny too, is that pick something in the bracket, and then you have a bet that kind of counteracts that bracket. What are you cheering for? You cheering for the bet? You cheering for the bracket? Like, which part of it are you going for? Because
and again, let us bet on these. Like, give us an Austin Dillon versus Martin Truex Jr. head-to-head. Obviously, Dillon is going to be, plus 400 or something like that. But give us a chance to bet on it, because there can be the upsets on these. Like,
there were the upsets. Ricardo saying, "What up, guys? What up?" JP also wants to know, "Let's go," and then saying he's glad it wasn't a DNF.
I think he's referencing the Coyote there.
Yeah, got dinged up on turn 12. Tried to send it in.
That could have been a lot worse for that guy than it turned out being. So, yeah. All right. Should we get into breaking down this race, Rob?
Which one? We want to break down the Cup race first, like we normally do.
Let's start in the Cup race. It's the most fresh in our mind. Austin Cindric takes home the win. We were just talking the other day, Rod, about when is his time going to be up at Penske. Now he breaks, what was it, 81 or 89 race winless streak. Obviously, he won the Daytona 500 his rookie season. That had been his only career victory. And a good amount of luck played into this, right? Obviously, Bell's engine kind of letting loose. Ryan Blaney running out of gas out of absolutely nowhere. But Cindric put himself in place. He was consistently running up front throughout the day. Was the third best car, I think, at that point in time. And breaks fell his way, which obviously worked out nicely. Boy, it's going to make some people sweat in the playoffs, Rod, because right now, Joey Logano not in the playoffs, Kyle Busch not in the playoffs, Kyle Larson not in the playoffs. There are some guys on this bubble that, that is somebody that nobody counted as making the playoffs, right? Austin Cindric, unless he had won at a super speedway, you didn't think he's going to win anywhere else. He's not going to point himself in. So that takes up one of those valuable spots that could leave out one of our 2-time champions in Kyle Busch or Joey Logano, or someone else that has bad luck near the end of the season here.
And what's amazing about it too is so I watched the IndyCar race earlier, and fuel mileage became an issue with Scott Dixon saving all the fuel he possibly could. And yet,
he's the fuel master. It's amazing.
That dude, I would drive with him with that light on E forever. Like, I'd let him just go. Yeah, trust me, we got this. But the lights, trust me, we got this. Don't worry about it. We got another 1,000 miles to go. We're good. I can save all that fuel. Blaney needed a little bit of that for sure. It's so weird to watch him just sort of fall out.
Like, he could have saved fuel if he knew he needed to, but like nobody knew he needed to. That whole thing was crazy. I don't exactly know where the miscue was there, but man, Blaney seems to catch the wrong side of that stuff a lot.
Yeah. And then poor Bell. I mean, that engine.
We'll talk about that, Rod.
Yeah, we will. We'll get there.
Okay. So we get into the bets.
You know what? Let's get into the bets, but let's do this first. I want to talk for a while about these because I think they deserve to be talked about for a while. So, as I vamp for time because I'm over here pushing all the buttons on my board. Rod, get your shit together. Okay. Let's talk about that, but let's also talk about Underdog Fantasy. We had some fun in Underdog Fantasy until we didn't this week, but the NBA playoffs are here. Our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. You can make entries of all just basketball, or you can mix and match across all of your other favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money. Plus, it's a ton of fun. Underdog's available in 30 or more states. We'll come back to that in just a second. And if you're a new customer, you get a pick'em special in the lobby when you sign up. Underdog's going to be running a ton of different promos like bonus cash airdrops, specials, giveaways, and more throughout the NBA playoffs. So make sure to follow @UnderdogPicks on Twitter to keep an eye out. Underdog is available in 30 or more states, including California, Texas, and Canada. Plus, they also just launched Champions, their player versus player format in Florida. Sign up today with our promo code RACESGPN. Claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code RACESGPN.
Andrew checking in. He says, "Hell, boys." Agreed, Andrew. Oh, he went, "Hello," laughed my fucking ass off, he says. And Ricardo also checking in. Can Larson just crash himself out and not others? What's crazy, he ended up with a top 10 finish after all that, Rod. So after, the way that you thought maybe that was going to end after those guys got together, the Kyle on Kyle crime, and Larson ends up on the positive side of things with a decent finish to the day in 10th place. But
you know what that's like? That's like that dude that is like swerving in and out of traffic, and you get stuck behind a semi truck, and he gets to continue on and just keep going. Like, or you get stuck at a red light and he just keeps going. Like, there's no justice in this world for doing the right thing. I feel you, Kyle Busch.
That's very true. All right, Rod. I kicked the card off with Joe Gibbs Racing over Hendrick. Motorsports -120. This really wasn't that close. Now, the Larson thing, he was decent early on, which you kind of expect him to be the one guy, but he wasn't going to win this race, I don't think, by any means. And Christopher Bell, the best car all day, won both stages, should have won the race. We'll get to that in a minute. Easily dominates today. He's still in 7th place, beats all the Hendrick cars. And Denny Hamlin, just a nice pedestrian 2nd place day for him. Yet another top 5 for Denny Hamlin. That might end as we go to a road course this weekend, but he's been killing it here lately. So another good finish by him. This was pretty simple. I told you that these guys were not going to be good here. They weren't good here. Austin Dillon, top Chevrolet at 6th place. Carson Hocevar, the next best Chevrolet, Rod. Kyle Larson was 10th. Obviously, he had that issue, but Chase Elliott was 13th. At one point, he looked sort of decent after he claimed he had knocked his toe out. All of a sudden, he looked fast. It was kind of weird, but then he fell off. William Byron, 15th place. Was William Byron ever in contention? No, much like we didn't expect him to. Alex Bowman, you bet him top 10 every week, Rod. I said, don't do it this week. This is the week you take off. We're going to bet him at Sonoma this week. I almost would promise you, if he's in the plus money range, he's going to be bet on. But you don't take him at Gateway. 28th place for Alex Bowman. So Hendrick just not good at Gateway for whatever reason. They'll be fine going forward. They'll probably be really good this weekend with all 4 of their cars. Actually will probably be pretty good at Sonoma because Byron is a hell of a road course racer. We know Larson is very good, especially at Sonoma. Chase Elliott's been pretty good here as well. So yeah. And then I doubled up with Martin Truex Jr. over William Byron. This one wasn't even close. Truex was a much better car. Flat tire, goes 2 laps down. Never able to recoup, which was unfortunate. So didn't hit this one, but it still was the right bet to make. Again, Byron, nowhere in contention at all. So, and Andrew saying nailed it on fade Hendrick. And again, that's not going, don't do that going forward. Hendrick is going to be just fine. Just for whatever reason, they've sucked a Gateway. Dusty checking in with the little smiley face, winky face. I know he had placed a bet on Austin Cindric, so he was pretty happy about that. He was messaging me after the race. So couldn't believe that he cashed that, as I'm sure anyone with that bet, which there was quite a few people who actually had grabbed him either right before the race or live. I used him in the one and done rod, which ended up working out very nicely for me. So, yeah, that worked out. But we'll talk about Cindric some more in a little bit.
We certainly will. And we'll also talk about another one of the drivers that cashed, or that definitely helped cash this next bet. I had Spire over Legacy Motor Club as a total team, right? I had it, and they added a plus 100. They added even money for Spire to finish better than Legacy Motor Club. And all hail Carson Hocevar, who cashes this bet convincingly with a top 10 finish. He finished in 8th place, started in 20th. Listen, here's the thing about Carson Hocevar, right? He was essentially in that 15 range most of the day, but God bless that team for making the right strategy call to get him off sequence with everybody and then to keep that track position. That was probably the biggest advertisement for what track position does for you here at Gateway than anything, because that team probably should have still been 15th to 20th in that range the whole day. And really, essentially, was the highest one of all of them anyways, be it Spire or be it Legacy. John Hunter Nemechek kind of jumped him a couple of times in line, but then Hocevar just kept charging. And we called it like this, too. We called that this was going to be Hocevar versus Legacy. But I will say Carson Hocevar, right, with an 8th place finish for Spire. And good on, I'm looking down this list. I know there's another. Good on St. Smith for finishing 19th too in this as well, beating a Legacy Motor Club car, actually beating both Legacy Motor Club cars. So the only person that did not beat the only Spire car that did not beat a Legacy Motor Club car was, you guessed it, that boy right there, Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie.
It's okay, Corey. I might have to retire that picture for a while. He's sucked lately.
Yeah, he came in 32nd, but the Legacy Motor Club guys came in back-to-back 26th and 27th. So, hey, man, we nailed this one right off the jump. Plus 100 for Spire over Legacy, and I may do that more often because Legacy's hurting.
This was a great call by you. Plus, Eric Jones still has a broken back, Rod. I can't tell people this enough. He's not going to be the same. We saw with Alex Bowman. Bowman just top 10 points leader, breaks his back, sucks the rest of the entire season. And now guess what he's doing this season? Top 10. Not this week, like we told you he wouldn't, but top 10 every week because his back's not broken anymore. It makes a big difference on these guys. Matt Jones checking in. Shout out to Haley on his top 10 too. We'll get to the other guy in your comment there because we had the bet on that. Justin Haley, a Rick Ware car, another top 10 finish on just a traditional oval. Wasn't a fuel mileage thing, wasn't it? Well, I guess to get to 9th from 10th was a fuel mileage part of it, right? But he was a top 10 car just on his talent. Haley, what a great call by them. Maybe they should stop putting Cody Ware in the car because that car sucked. But, yeah, that was great. Andrew also asking, what is a one and done? Glad you asked. So there's a one and done pool that I'm running and that we actually did an off-season episode, and we'll do it again this off-season too. But basically you get to pick a driver once for, there's 36 races. And you get to use each driver one time throughout the season. Now you can use, if Jimmy Johnson's in a race where he's not in all the other races, or Riley Herbst, or we got a couple of Aussie guys racing this weekend at Sonoma. You could plug those guys in. You could use SVG at Chicago last year, or whatever the case is, but you only get to use a driver once throughout the season. So that's a lot of fun. And we actually had Ryan Blaney in our one and done. We did the preseason picks, and so I've left that entry in there to see how it does. We had Ryan Blaney, which looked like it was going to be pretty good, and then obviously wasn't super great by the end of the day. But Ricardo, our parlay king, checking in also. If one of my parlays that hit, he could have bought Stuart Haas's charters. We'll be rooting for you on that. I don't have a ride for next year, so if you end up hitting one of those parlays and buying an SHR charter, hit me up.
Oh, I've been saying it for years. I want to get in. Let's go. I'll drive. I may not be good, but I'm good enough to be 33rd and cash a check every single week. Let's go.
Exactly.
All right, Cody, where are we going next?
All right, Rod, next up. Went with Noah Gragson over on Group G plus 225. Noah Gragson just didn't quite show up as much as he had recently here, 22nd place. We had Josh Berry in this group. Berry didn't look very good. Hits the wall early. His day was done. He was the first car of the race. So you're like, okay, check that off. Daniel Suarez was not very good. He actually finished 23rd, one spot behind Gragson. Chase Briscoe's the guy who got us, but only in 17th. So if you'd have told me going into this, the best finishing of these three guys was 17th, I would have doubled down and took Noah Gragson again. Unfortunately, just a bad starting spot. We're going to have to keep an eye on these SHR guys because obviously the news is now official, even though everybody saw it coming. And there is some potential, and I heard, Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi talk about this too, like some guys could start just leaving these teams, and I think that they're somewhat concerned about that because, Rod, if I come to you and you know that you don't have a job at the end of the season, and I say, hey, I got this job over here at Joe Gibbs Racing, you can start tomorrow. You could be here the next 5 years and probably win some championships, or you could just stay over there and test your luck at the end of the season. Well, yeah, which way do you think you're going to go with it, right? You're probably going to leave. So, yeah, exactly. So we will have to keep an eye on that and see how these guys kind of react the rest of the season. Pretty rough day for the entire SHR bunch. But again, that could have just been this track or whatever. Also gave out Gragson top 10 at plus 290. That unfortunately did not hit either.
But boy, he was trying. He was there. I mean, he was around the top 10 toward the end, and I think strategy got a hold of him, and he dropped like a rock to it at that point, which is what happened to my next bet. But before, let's say hello to Nick Fortune saying, afternoon, Sexy Rod and Sassy Cody. Now you're Sassy Cody.
All
like
right.
that.
Well, yeah, that's probably pretty accurate.
I'm sure it is.
And Sexy Rod part, obviously very accurate if you're watching on the YouTube.
Yeah, right. Not even the person that's supposed to find me sexy can do that. So Bubba Wallace, top 10 car. Man, this looks so good to start, right? He started 8th place, and I thought, man, Bubba Wallace looking good with the rest of these Toyotas. But let me tell you, how strategy. If Carson Osavar was a poster child for how well strategy works out for you, Bubba Wallace is the opposite because they just could not find. They couldn't get on the right part of the strategy. They were on the offside of all of it, right? Ever since that first set of pit stops, that was it. I mean, he never found his way back inside. I think the top, they had 15, but like he was getting mired in the muck, right? Ends up with a overall 21st place finish. But God, man, it was just tough for him. He was good in the beginning. And then once he got off sequence, that was it. Bubba looked good while everyone else.
Yeah, Bubba looked good while everyone else was pitting. Haha. That is true. But yeah, unfortunately, this one just didn't do great. But Rod, we told you we're gonna give out a lot of top 10s because you can find some good value, and because they're not all gonna hit. But what if some of them do, Rod? Well, some of them did.
Hold that thought. We'll tell you which ones did. Look at that tease. I wanted to make that more of a tease than it was. We'll tell you which ones hit. I know you're on the edge of your seat, but first, let me tell you about Rhythm. If you're betting on NBA player props, you need to download Rhythm. You need Rhythm. Let's just put it that way. You need Rhythm. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easy to go through and find the best props to put your money on in second. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning our algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm pairs its predictions with player props graphs to help you feel even more confident in your picks, which you can make wherever you normally place your bets or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data without you needing to endlessly scroll a sports book. Rhythm also allows you to create your own custom NBA models so you can get AI-backed moneyline spread and total picks for every playoff game. Claim your free 7-day trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. The Belmont Stakes. They're here. Bet the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga with NYRA Bets. Join now to claim your $25 free bet and $200 deposit bonus just in time for the Belmont Stakes at nyrabets.com/SGPN25. You need an extra boost? I'm a short guy, so I do too. Bet the Penn Mile with a bonus. Earn $10, win or lose when you bet at least $100 on Penn National on Friday. Visit nyrabets.com to opt in. That's not all. Get $10 win or lose when you opt in and bet at least $100 on Monmouth Park on Saturday. On Sunday, it's your chance to win big at Monmouth Park. Grab a share of $2,500 when you hit at least 2 trifectas. Just opt in at nyrabets.com and get ready to cash in on the excitement. The winning streak continues. Score another $20 win or lose when you bet at least $100 at Asinobi Downs on Monday. And remember, to get your free $25 bet and $200 deposit bonus for the Belmont Stakes, go to nyrabets.com/SGPN25.
Well, Rod, those top tens that we did give out that hit. Austin Cindric 8-1. I was almost laughed off the show when I gave that out. But Rod,
by me,
by you, by some of the people in the chat weren't buying it. They didn't believe. Well, I hate it for you if you didn't believe, because Austin Cindric, this was never in doubt either. I mean, he came out and qualified really well, starting on the front row there with Michael McDowell. And then he was in contention all day. I mean, right at the start, he kind of dropped back a couple spots, and you're like, oh, here we go. Austin Cindric's going to be Austin Cindric, right? But then he settled in, and really, at the end of the race, was the third best car, probably going to get a third place finish. Circumstances fall his way. He's right there to capitalize, which you have to put yourself in position to take advantage, and he did such, and gets a win. This turns their entire season, possibly his entire career, around just like that, Rod, because now all of a sudden he's got a win, he's in the playoffs, and just like that, it turns the heat way down on the burner on his seat. I think it maybe should still be there, but we're going to see this week to week. I'm still not convinced on that. This was a track that just sets up well for him, but that's why it worked out. So I used him in the one and done. Gave him out for this. So top 10 for him, 8-1. Great hit there. But not only do we hit one, Carson Hocevar, my man, 10-1 for the top 10. I didn't think this was going to be as much of a long shot top 10 week for getting guys, because Justin Haley also finished in here. This was better than the Coke 600, Rod. This is what should have happened last week. And it was not half the distance what they ran, but half the distance what they should have run. But man, yeah, again, shout out to Haley, but Hocevar gets it done. Top 10 finish here. He ran so good in that 7-car last season. The results didn't show it because he blew the brake rotor and finished last place, but expected that from him again. They played the strategy right to get themselves up there. Once he was up there, held on to the track position. So gets inside of the top 10 with that finish there. And cashes the 10-1. So these are what really saved, honestly, the entire weekend, because let's face it, overall, not a great betting weekend for us, but Cindric at 8-1 for the top 10. Hocevar at 10-1 for the top 10. These two bets saved what could have been just a horrendous day.
I hadn't even thought about it until the broadcast had brought it up, and that there hadn't been a green flag pit stop at that track in the first 2 iterations of the races. Isn't that weird to think, though? And so to me, that's when the first green flag pit stop started happening. I was like, oh, well, this is going to shake the world up, because they haven't had the strategy yet.
Right.
Yeah. So for them, it was always, caution, come in for 4, fuel up and go. Now it's like, well, okay, come in, tire drag's not that, or tire wear out's not that bad. Let's throw 2 on. Let's go just, right sides. Let's go left sides. There was so much strategy going on that it was difficult to nail down a specific strategy. But I mean, these 2 cars in and of themselves were recipients of that. Well, Austin Cindric was fast enough by himself, but Hocevar, that everything that we said needed to happen happened. And so I'm happy for Hocevar. He needs that kind of a day. So good for him. My next bet suffered Kyle on Kyle violence. I'm not quite sure how else to break this down. Kyle Busch, top 5 plus 260 on FanDuel. Kyle Busch probably could have been a top 5 car at the end of the day. I think once he got onto the right strategy call, but he did. He was the one where the strategy played out for him perfectly. And if he had not gotten involved with Kyle Larson, I mean, he wasn't in the top 5 spot when he got involved with them, but he was on his way to get back up there. Like he had the right opportunities to cash in on this one for sure. But much to Kyle Busch's chagrin, the anvil, because it's not pianos anymore. The anvils are falling on Kyle Busch. I wonder, I mean, listen, as somebody who has just been pushed to the breaking point, I wonder how much more Kyle Busch can take before something gives, because, you know, you try and you try and you try and you give your best and you give your best and the results just aren't there, and nobody's backing you up. Whew, man, it's
been rough for him, and I don't really know. I still don't even know whose fault that was. I think it was probably a little bit of both of theirs, right? I think they both got pissy with each other, and obviously Kyle Busch got the worst side of the Kyle on Kyle violence there. But yeah, unfortunate for this. Rude Boy checking in, Rod. Just found the channel. Needed this. I bet on NASCAR every week. Well, that's good because so do we, of course. And he's pissed about Blaney loss. My boy had that win sealed, ran out of fuel. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit ago. That was rather unfortunate, but glad you stumbled across us. That's great. Hit the subscribe, hit the little bell there as well. We go live pretty much, 4 times, 5 times a week, but this is our recap show. We'll be back with Cup Series bets tomorrow. Then we'll be back with Xfinity bets, truck bets, although I think truck is off this week, but
I think it is,
we'll have some DFS, some underdog picks later in the week. So we're the place to be if you like to bet on NASCAR. So glad you're here. Unfortunately, Rod, next up for me, I had Chris Buescher, top 5 plus 275. Yeah, this one had no chance all day ever at any point throughout the entire weekend. I just I felt so good about how RFK had been doing here lately. I thought maybe they would show up. Keselowski shows up, right? He ends up with a 3rd place finish. Nice strong run for him. But Buescher, I thought he might have it, even though they'd struggled here before this. And I mentioned that too. This was kind of the one thing where I was going off of what they'd done at the track in the past was RFK, because I thought the Ford thing, and it looked okay with the Keselowski part of it, but Buescher starts 26th, finishes 14th. I mean, I don't know that he really ever ran any better than that throughout the day. There was no chance in hell for this bet was ever going to cash. So unfortunately, just tossed the Buescher top 5 out the window. Luckily, we were covered by the Cindric and Hocevar part there.
I'll tell you what, though, the booth was all over Fords this weekend, so it wasn't, it was not misplaced. It was definitely something that should have happened.
So were we. We said it was going to be Toyota and Ford, Rod, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you toss Blaney in there, that's 6 before you get to the first Chevy, which was Austin Dillon, because we told you Hendrick was going to suck too, and they did. They
sure did. You know who else kind of disappointed? Young Tyrone Gibbs, 4-1 for a guy that he started 9th. I thought for sure he'd be a decent top 5 car, but he was never really fighting for a top 5 spot at all. In fact, he ends up finishing 11th, but that's generous. That 11th place finish was because all of the chaos that was going on over the last few laps. And I think he benefited from a strategy call late there too. I don't remember if he took 2 tires or if he was one of the ones that just pitted late, or I can't remember.
Well, he ended up having that deal where he ran over his crew guy, and that really slowed him down on that last pit stop. But yeah, I feel like, I think he had to go to the back at one point. Didn't he have that pit penalty or something? I can't remember. But yeah, this one, I don't know. Not really ever in contention. He is going to be in the Xfinity race at Sonoma this weekend, Rod. So we'll definitely be looking at him for that. SVG is going to be minus 10,000 to win that race probably. But I also had RFK to win at 7-1. This was my way to get in on both of these guys without having to pick one. Obviously, I took Buescher in the outright section as well, but this would have covered me. If Brad ends up there, 3rd place at the end of the day, which kind of means he was a 5th place car near the end of the race, of course. But hey, crazy shit happens at the end there. If we end up with a caution, which the trend had been in both races, like 3 laps to go, I think Larry Mack said. So you end up with a crazy restart there. It ends up being Cindric and Hamlin because Blaney figures out he's running out of fuel. They take each other out or whatever the deal is. Keselowski's right there. You don't hate having had that. So obviously maybe Brad just outright by himself would have been the better way to go. But RFK to win at 7-1. I don't hate having had it, especially when Ford showed up like they did. I mean, really, all 3 Penske cars kind of had a chance to win this thing. And that's how we thought it was going to be. So, yeah, that didn't cash, but I don't think it was a bad bet.
No, my next one, I maybe question it now. This is breaking the streak. I had winning car number over 16.5. I'm sorry. I misread
This was the 20 cars over 16.5, Rod. This was a great bet.
Well, no, I misread it because I thought the over part of it was, over, so it would be better than 16.5. I misread it. I'm sorry. That was my bad, guys. No, I'm just kidding. No, but you're right. I mean, look, the 20 car was definitely fast enough to get it done. Reddick was there. Logano was there. Hocevar was there. I mean, the top 3 cars were all under that, but most of the next ones were all over it. So we were circling the waters, just did not get it done on this occasion.
Yeah, and then for All Right's Rod, I had Buescher, as I mentioned, 20-1. Never really had a shot. Reddick at 12-1. Didn't show up as good as you had hoped, but 4th place at the end of the day. Like he was in the mix. You get that late caution again. With Toyotas were fast. Christopher Bell 10-1. This was absolutely the correct bet. Win stage 1, win stage 2. They're cycling through everything, and you're like, this is going to work out perfect. He gets to Blaney. He's going to get in within the next 2 laps. And then he just pulls. It was like a runner that pulls something, and you just see him slow down and hobble off to the side, and you're like, I go, what the fuck? And then they play the radio, and it's that's it. The engine's. I'm like, oh no, this bet felt so good because he was clearly the best car all day. 10-1. You got a really good number on it early in the week, and you had the best car. The second race of the weekend where I had the best car, Rod, and they don't win. God damn it. But yeah, unfortunately, I mean, everything about this was correct. Look at comps to New Hampshire so much, comps to Phoenix so much. The guys that were good there were good here. Bell is that guy. 10-1 was a great bet. Obviously, it doesn't cash at the end of the day, but I would place this bet time and time again, especially you tell me he wins both stages and he's the best car throughout the day. I'll take that at 10-1 every time.
Yep. My bets, Truex Gibbs. We talked about them already. Neither one of them won. So we'll move on to the Xfinity race. Let's go to Portland, where we pick up 3 letters that embody this entire race. Cody, what are those letters?
SVG.
We want to talk about the guy
SVG gets it done, Rob.
that had the freaking best car in the entire field. That dude was
not
on
SVG
rails. No, listen.
It was
say what you will. Well, listen,
Allgaier definitely had the best one, right?
Me and Allgaier, we've got this thing going on, right? And I'll talk to him. I'll talk about him later because I think I had him in something, anyways. But
you did,
yeah. But no, SVG, man, that dude. By the end of that race, he was on rails. So we'll talk about our bets in there. I love this. Shout out to Ed Jones.
Matt had the Ed Jones 60-1. Rod, I brought him up in the top Toyota segment. I said he didn't have a chance.
Nope.
But we'll get to that part because we've learned a very important lesson from this race, which is why we do this recap show, which is why we go through these bets, especially when we're turning around and we're going to have a road course again this weekend for Xfinity, back-to-back road courses for them as they'll join the Cup Series in Sonoma. So gonna make for good notes as we go through this and kind of stuff to watch as we head to Sonoma.
Yeah, and I actually enjoyed this particular race too. I mean, I know that the pit stops were sort of unorthodox, but really the racing was good all throughout the entire field. I mean, is it frustrating to watch cars wreck out and wreck each other? Yeah, but that's Portland for you.
Speaking of frustrating, Rod, Sam Mayer over Sheldon Creed, minus 110. Sam Mayer sits it on the pole. He's fast. He's looking good. Feeling great here. Running good all day, right? And Sheldon Creed was running good too, but Sheldon Creed's going to Sheldon Creed, and you knew it was going to happen, and it happened. And you're like, boom, not even close. We're cashing this one all day. Clips the barrier. The tire goes flat. He was going to finish 3rd place at least. I was hoping Allgaier and SVG were going to wreck each other. Mayer was going to part the seas like Custer did last season. But I felt so good. Creed creeded. Rod, he did exactly what he always does. He looks good, and then he shits the bed. And then it still doesn't matter. Oh, just frustrating, but unfortunately did not hit Sam Mayer over Sheldon Creed.
You gotta hate it for him too, because you know that he knew that he could win that race. You know it. You knew that once he got.
And that's why he was pushing. That's why he was pushing so hard, which I appreciate as a guy that had many other bets on him. But it just frustrating because this one he at least could have cashed.
Yep, indeed. My first bet, though, I don't know that it ever really had an opportunity. I had Chandler Smith over Riley Herbst, and I got to tell you, Riley Herbst started third and ended up finishing 10th. But Riley Herbst, man, was hanging with the big dogs for a very long time of this. In fact, Riley Herbst even led 15 laps in this race as well. So, I mean,
That shouldn't be surprising, Rod, because we know Riley Herbst is that good, but for what he's been this season, oh my God.
I know.
That's
And
the
it's been
surprising part.
Yeah.
But Chandler looked really good at points too. Like he was having a great day. This looked like it wasn't too bad of a bet. And then obviously Chandler gets wrecked and his car gets, or what was the deal was Chandler the one who blew the motor, right?
Oh, well, look, Chandler. So what happened was this bet was actually at points cashing and then not cashing and cashing and not cashing. But round about lap 69.
Nice.
There was that giant pileup with the 9, the 14, the 29, the 81, the 44, the 43.
But I think he blew his motor before all that happened. And then I don't know if that led to that big wreck happening or whatever the deal was.
Something happened to him.
Yeah. Anyways,
That
it doesn't
ended
really matter. But
yeah, that ended it.
unfortunately. Cole Custer, top 5 rod, plus 130. This one cash right. SVG, Justin Allgaier, Sammy Smith, AJ Allmendinger, Cole Custer. Oh, fucking Ed Jones finishes in 5th. Who the fuck is this guy? Come on.
A fifth finisher in Portland. That's who it is. Put
Ed
some respect
Jones.
on his name. 61.
I'm glad for Matt Jones that Ed Jones. Oh, maybe they're brothers or something. Probably not.
Maybe.
But there's a few Joneses in this world. But damn it. Cole Custer finishes in 6th place, Rod. This one was close, right? I mean, Custer hung around all day. 7th in stage 1, 4th in stage 2. He was just kind of up there and around. And that's what you expected from him. I didn't expect for him to be the best or win just because he did last season. Like, it was going to be hanging out in the top 5. You get that late guy that ships it, and just happens. So unfortunate, but yeah, Custer top 5 misses by 1 spot.
Somebody that didn't miss as a top 5 car was Justin Allgaier. I probably should have had him as a top 3, but I remember I told you, I said, I'm not going to take him to win because I don't want that heartbreak. I don't want it. I said, I know he can finish as a top 5 car, but if I pick him as an outright, I know I'm going to get hurt. So I had to take myself out of that situation. All I said was a top 5. I set my sights low enough for him. He delivered. He would have delivered to the top 3, but Allgaier, one of the best cars, like you said, the best car out there.
Oh, he was, yeah. And JDK saying that too. Allgaier was the best car, but SVG was the best driver. And I think at the end of the day, that's what it came down to, right? Was Allgaier had the best car throughout the day. I mean, he was pacing the field and he was the best guy. And if it didn't get those late cautions that gave SVG that chance to catch him, Allgaier will walk away with it. But still cashes the top 5 for you, which was a great bet. And really, this one was never not cashing throughout the entire day. So, yeah, at plus money at plus 125, this was a good one for you, Rod.
Well, he swept the stages too. I mean, that's the thing. Like, he swept both stage 1 and stage 2. And honestly,
I don't want to hear about guys that swept stages, Rod, because I had the outrights on the guys who swept the stages in the truck and the Cup Series race.
You did.
And wow, actually, so that's all 3 races this weekend. The guys who swept the stages didn't win the race.
I'll say this though, that ending part of what happened, that was between Allgaier and SVG. That was some fantastic racing. Like, that was entertainment right there.
Great. It was good. Yeah. And let's see, dude, never going to win. Matt says, which I think he was referring to Sheldon Creed when I was talking about him. Then he called Ed Jones the GOAT. Rude Boy said he's got to start learning the IndyCar racers. That's the thing though, is like, Ed Jones has raced Indy before, but not in a long time. Like, he's kind of an IMSA driver. He had that one start earlier this season and wasn't that good. So it was kind of like, who is this guy? He's in the Sam Hunt cars, which you can't trust. 26 has mechanical problems. Surprised we saw that coming, but of course the 24 didn't. And JB saying to watch Chandler's in-car camera, revs that car like crazy. Maybe that's what led to him blowing up. So I'll have to check that out. I had Parker Kligerman to win Group B, Rod, plus 220. This one didn't look too bad. Kligerman hung around all day. You know, he was 5th in stage 1, kind of went back for a little while, but then made his way back forward. 8th place finish. Nice, solid day for him. Other guys in this group, Ryan Truex, he ends up getting spun at one point. He ended up in 27th. And then Josh Bilicki, which Bilicki, to his credit, was hanging around for a while, but he also ended up getting spun. He ends up 12th place. Not a bad day. He beat Sheldon Creed even. But Sammy fucking Smith is the guy who gets me. Sammy Smith finishes in 3rd place, which was rather unfortunate. So Kligerman in 8th, not good enough to win this group, unfortunately.
Sammy Smith, the one guy that I kept looking at the whole race going, are you really up here, Sammy? Like, oh, Sammy, is this you?
Again, like we've seen it before, JGR, but it's Sammy Smith that he's just not attractive at all in JRM equipment for some reason.
So I need to make the meme of the guy holding hands with
girlfriend, looking
Sammy,
back at
yeah, Sammy in Junior Motorsports,
yep,
but
looking
eyeballing
back
Sammy
at Sammy and JGR equipment.
That's what it is. All right, my next one, I had Ryan Truex as a top 5 driver. Hey, listen, Ryan Truex actually was somewhere in the top 5. Well, maybe not top 5, but I think
he might have been top 5 when he got
5.
spun out. Like
Yeah.
he was up there and in the mix.
Yep. So he started 13th and was battling in that top area. That 20 car was actually battling it out with everybody. One of those strong JGR drivers, he was one of them, and ended up getting spun out. Oh my God, heartbreak. 27th. Again, I'm glad I don't have a foam brick because it would be gone. It'd be ripped to shreds at this point. I would have nothing left to throw because that type of stuff is heartbreak. When you pick and you handicap right, like I said, Ryan Truex battling it out there, having a fantastic run. He was in the top 10, obviously at the end of stage 1, not yet at the stage 2, but like he was a fast car.
I believe that I said, Rod, that he hadn't been in a road course race since 2018. This was a different style of racing, and he was probably going to get spun out late in this race because that's what happens to these guys. I don't want to say I told you so, Rod, but I told you so.
It would be the first time, and it won't be the last.
Top Toyota. Look, I had the right thought here, Rod. Again, you take this, and it's a small group of guys. None of them are super great road course racers. So you pick a guy farther down like Ed Jones, who ends up being the top Toyota, should have been where I went, which this is where the important lesson comes in. I think as we go into this week, which Ed Jones is back, I think that John Hunter and Gibbs, which Gibbs could be the one that ruins this because he should be really good. But if you're getting like a top Toyota guy at 50 to 1 or more, you just take them at a road course because so many things can happen to these guys, even a guy like Ty Gibbs and John Hunter Nemechek, that they can cash, as we see with Ed Jones here. I gave out Chandler Smith a plus 850. I was actually feeling really good about this. Creed, again, was hanging out up there up front. Bulicki was hanging out up front, but I didn't think either of these guys were going to make it to the end, and they really didn't, finishing 12th and 13th. But Chandler had a chance at this. Would he have beaten Ed Jones for 5th? Maybe not. But obviously, when the engine expired, so did the bet. Plus 850, again, I think was good. You're getting the guy who's been one of the best this season. I know he's kind of been not as great the last couple of weeks, but it felt good. And even throughout the race, it felt like it was a really good bet. Doesn't cash, but I think teaches us again, if you're getting a long shot on any of these Toyotas when you've only got 6 in the field or so, you just take 1 or 2 of the really long shots because a Ryan Truex can get spun late. A Sheldon Creed's going to Sheldon Creed. Chandler Smith's going to blow up. And boom, Ed Jones finishes in 5th place and could have finished in 11th place and still would have been the top Toyota.
Yeah, it's so frustrating too because Chandler did have a decent enough car, and maybe if he didn't,
especially for not being a road course guy like Chandler Smith isn't, and you didn't expect him to be that good, but he showed up and he was racing pretty good, which you were like, great, because we haven't seen this on the ovals lately, so nice, good. And then he unfortunately did bad things.
You know what I don't love? Speaking of bad things, I don't love when Jesse Love does not cash a top 5 bet for us.
Did you see the meme we got from the guy jumping on his car at least though, Rob?
Oh my God.
That is like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to use that. And I retweeted it and I said, me trying to put my Xfinity card back together. Like, it's just like it'd be like me, bigger crew guy. He's just like jumped on top of the hood, like just trying to beat it in, but looks like a whale, like flailing on top of the thing or something. It was absolutely great.
Cody, we've both been in the military. We know exactly what that is. That motion
I'm pretty sure I've been in that situation before.
1,000%. Oh, look, the Humvee's broken.
Yep. You just jump on it and you're like trying to hold stuff down. And yeah, that's
that was fantastic. Great. Yeah, Jesse Love, I mean, I don't know that this would have ever cashed. He started 12th. He was in the top 10 at a couple of points in the beginning before his day got ruined. but another victim of the foam brick. He finishes 19th. He never had it. I mean, I'm surprised he even finished the race considering all of the damage that was done to that car. I mean, that thing it wasn't munched, but I mean, plus when you have a 200-pound or 300-pound pit crewman jumping on it, probably didn't like it all that much. But yeah, poor Jesse Love. I feel like he could have had a better day. Maybe he displaces a guy like Ed Jones later on, but who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, and JDK bringing up, Sheldon Creed is black flagged. That's what happened to him. That's how he created it. Again, it doesn't matter how he creates it. He's going to create it somehow. But he was happy when Creed got black flagged or he would have ruined it all. Yeah, he probably would have been the guy that dive bombed in there and took out 4 of the top 5 guys and destroyed everyone. But Top Chevy, one of the couple of guys here. Again, you thought it was going to be the Allmendinger and the SVG show, which wasn't the case, Rod. Like all day, and we'll talk about Allmendinger in a minute. Was he in this race? Nobody quite knows, but that wasn't what happened. You know, it ends up being Allgaier kind of being the other guy, and the top 4 end up all being Chevys. So, but Sam Mayer starts on the pole. He was in 3rd place there at the end. He definitely had a chance of this at 9-1, and Austin Hill at 12-1. I don't know that he had a chance, Rod. Was he really he finished 11th, but I don't even remember seeing Austin Hill kind of throughout the day. Just was kind of unimpressive run from Hill this week. So I don't know what that was about exactly, but I feel like, again, especially if we get more chaos late, this top Chevy bed, obviously SVG, Allgaier 1-2, Allmendinger in 4th, but even a guy like Sammy Smith being in 3rd there, he had a pretty good number on him as well. If Allgaier and SVG take each other out on that last lap, going for it all or whatever the case may be, you had a chance to cash a bigger bet here. And Mayer was there throughout the day with a chance. So I don't feel like that was a bad bet. Hill just didn't kind of show up, but I don't know. His inconsistencies here lately have me second guessing always trying to bet on Hill. But when I don't bet on him, that's when he finishes in 2nd and easily cashes the plus money top 5. So
I know that's why you just leave him alone at this point. You're just like, never mind, Hill. But so I'm not even going to say that either one of these had a chance to cash or not, because in my mind, it never had a chance. But I will say that if it did, I would have been hurt because both of them were odd, and I had winning car number as odd at plus 100. This is where I actually started the weekend off with a good, or actually no, this is where I rebounded for a winning car number bet. So winning car number, I said odd at plus 100. SVG's car number is 97. That definitely would have cashed it. The pole sitter was odd. That definitely would have cashed it. The 2nd place guy was odd. That definitely would have cashed it. So yeah, there was a lot of opportunities in that top 3, and especially at the start of the race to cash this bet. So I'm back on it, buddy. I'm back on it.
Great hit by you, Rod. Again, don't argue with you on the winning car number bets very often, and you did cash this one. So great call. I had Sam Mayer outright. We just talked about him. That was also 9-1. So that was one of those deals. If you could just bet the top Chevy, you might as well to be covered in case somebody else won. Kligerman at 20-1. He was kind of in the mix throughout the day, up and down, back and forth. Really, was he ever going to win? Probably not. Jesse Love at 60-1. It was a long shot, but obviously we touched on him and how his day went, which was unfortunate. So, Rod, you took the route of the chalk, but it paid off for you.
It was the best flavor of chalk ever. It was whatever Australian chalk is, or New Zealand chalk was. That's what I man, gotta love it. I said, look, split it between AJ Allmendinger and SVG because it's gonna be one of those two. It really was. And you're right. I mean, for the most part, Allmendinger just not even present in this race at all.
Did he ever? Well, he ended up starting in the back, right? Because they had the damage. So, but I mean, he got through the field, and what you don't take into account with that too is there was no real opportunity to jump on strategy because of the stupid modified pit stop deal. Yeah. So he really had to earn it the old-fashioned way, and he got up there. I thought for sure we were getting one more caution, and he was just going to win because he comes out of nowhere and ends up winning out of 4th place. But yeah, AJ wasn't a threat throughout the entire day, which was crazy.
No, but he did work his way up. You're absolutely right. He muscled his way. I'm surprised he finished 4th, to be completely honest with you, because what it looked like at points of that day, it was just, and he couldn't get like a Luigi on Carr's pit stop where it was like, or Guido's pit stop where it was like 4 tires and flying off the back onto the track. Like he had to wait at least 63 seconds for everybody that has never done this before or has done it in a long time to get. And remember, this is where the lug nut is. Zip, zip, zip. And so, yeah, look, here's the thing too, with AJ finishing fourth, having to start way in the back, like to me, I still think that would have been a good bet. Cause if you put him in the front, like if he was actually where he was at supposedly when he qualified, I mean, SVG qualified on the outside pole and won this race, but SVG had to fight his way through traffic several times over as well. It wasn't as if he was in second place the whole time and just, raced AJ or raced Allgaier afterwards and got it. He had to fight his way back through so many different ways. And for him, that was kind of a dominating run for him, and he knew it. And of course he went for broke there on the end of it, but that's what it's all about, right? That's racing. JDK managed to get SVG live at plus 200. So damn near close to what he was in the beginning of the pre-race with 5 laps to go. Took a pre-race at 220 as well. So way to double down, JDK.
Yeah. Great get by you.
Indeed.
Good call. And yeah, I mean, man, we're going to be talking about him this weekend, right? He's probably going to be too low of a number to even bet anywhere on, but he's fucking good in these Xfinity cars on the road courses. So he's getting used to it. That's where it gets dangerous, is because now he's we're 2 for 2 on. I mean, he wins this one, but he kicked everyone's ass at Coda.
Yep.
Again, the result not there because of the penalty late, but I mean, he blew everyone's doors off that day. So he's going to continue to be in these Xfinity races, at least a guy that's always going to be near the front at the end of these races.
Watch out, because now that he knows, he's like, oh, those are the rules. Oh, okay, I got your ass. We're good. Let's go. Speaking of which, let's move over to the trucks where...
Do we have to talk about this one, Ron?
Oh, it's Heim time, baby. You always got to talk about Heim time, right? So gotta love that.
Yes. Also, SVG, the world drift champion, as JDK points out. What a great celebration. That was
Portland Drift.
That was pretty sweet. Yes. Portland Drift. That's like Fast and Furious 47, I think. Or maybe 97 even. Fast and Furious 97, Portland Drift. I think they're pretty close to getting to that number anyways.
I'd definitely appear in that movie if that came out. So, all right, truck race at Gateway, time. Cody, this race pissed me off. It was good, but it pissed me off. There was so much strategy going on in that race that it just felt like there was no way to handicap that. No way to handicap that.
Yeah, this race was something, Rod. It was a good race, not so good from a betting aspect. So let's cruise through it. I had Colby Howard over Chase Purdy. This was taking the one truck with a guy that finished 7th in his one oval start at Darlington this season against Chase Purdy, who hasn't been that good, Rod. And Chase Purdy ended up with 6th place. So he had a great run anyways. But Howard was out of this like immediately, like 5 laps into the race. It felt like he was wrecked and in the wall and done. So his day ended early. Unfortunately, had quite a few bets on him. But at plus 130, it just felt too good to be true. I know our guys over on the NASCAR betting preview show, Rod, by the way, we kicked their ass again in fantasy. Just to gloat a little bit there. But they took
Randy Orton.
They took the opposite side of this matchup. They took Purdy over Howard. And then in their fantasy picks, they played Howard and said, we're just going to play Howard here because everybody we play in fantasy sucks. And maybe this will help cash our head-to-head. And they were correct. But unfortunately, also did not cash my head-to-head. So shout out to those guys. They were on the right side of this. Unfortunately, I was on the wrong side.
Well, why don't you go ahead and finish up your Howard bets there?
Yeah, so I had them top 5 at plus 900. Obviously, that did not have a chance either. Was that all I had on him?
I think that's all you had on him.
That's all I had on him. So,
well, I'll double down on my Friesen bets too, because I had Friesen over Taylor Gray. That one actually hit. And look, Friesen started in 6th place and wound up in 8th place, and he actually had himself a nice, solid day all day long, exactly like we said it was going to. He had a top 4 going in the end of stage 1. He didn't finish inside of the top 10 at the end of stage 2. However, that was because of strategy, and that was because of all the craziness that was going on. Man, let me tell you, it's weird at some points when you see the top 10 or top 5 in instances where strategy is getting played out, because you see guys around the front that you never ever see in your entire life up front. So but good on Stuart Friesen, right? nice solid top 10 finish. Unfortunately, he didn't get to the top 5 in this instance at 2-1, but he did beat Taylor Gray, who, by the way, is it time to hit the panic button on Taylor? Taylor has had a very bad run as of late, and it continues to get worse. He started 7th. We thought maybe he could turn this thing around, but he got caught up in it and ended up finishing in 30th. That was just a rough day for him overall.
Unfortunately, Rod, we don't have to hit the panic button on anything in the trucks because they don't race again until June 28th.
Is that our actual
27 days between races. This is like the part of the season where so they don't race till the 28th. Then we only get them twice in July, the 12th and 19th. Then we only get them twice in August. And then they go almost a month until September where we only get them twice. And then it's the playoffs already. Like we're only 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 4 races left in the regular season for the trucks.
Oh, God.
Which is just we've been spoiled here lately because they've been every single week. So little unfortunate there, but I think we don't need to hit the panic on Taylor Gray just yet, but I am starting to get a little concerned at how things are falling off. So Grant Enfinger, top 5, minus 105. Rod, this one, Enfinger ended up in...
all the way down in 17th.
Oh, yeah. What the hell? I don't remember what happened to him at the end, but yeah, I don't know. He was hanging around, right? He was 7th in stage 1, 6th in stage 2. I don't remember what happened to him at the end that forced him to get this far back, but I don't know that he was really going to get a top 5 and a minus 105. I can't seem to quite nail Enfinger when we should hit him because this should have been a track where he's good on a shorter track. It's been positive for him lately. Things were pointing in the right direction, and then just kind of has a bad day. So unfortunate here.
Yeah, and I had him as a top 3 because we kind of lifted him separately, and that didn't hit either. So not a good day for us in our Grant Enfinger prediction.
Yeah. And I had him to win at 952. We'll just toss that out there now so we don't have to do it later. But unfortunately, obviously, that one did not cash either. Also, I had a couple of top 5s, Rod. Ben Rhodes, 3-1. This one was looking good near the end, and then he got passed by a couple of trucks just at the very, I think with like 10 laps to go, he was in the top 10 or top 5, but he was on the older tires, got caught by a couple of guys, finishes in 7th place. So Rhodes, again, with the crew chief switch, things have continued to look up for him. So I think that is good. And then I had Jake Garcia at 11-1. I got to continue to scroll. Yeah.
24th.
So not Jake Garcia's day. I can't seem to figure this kid out either, which by the way, I had him as a top Ford also at 10-1. And obviously that was nowhere to cashing.
Nope. And neither was my Howard bet. I actually had the Howard bet winning Group B over Purdy, Tanner, and Andres. And listen, Andres. He was definitely that dude, he finished in 9th place. So good on this, Andres.
Man, these guys running these like one-off. We just got to keep betting. You did a good job early in the season, Rod. You hit all those guys that got in that 88 car for their top 5s and hitting good bets on them. We just have to keep up on it, I guess. Because
I should have picked Andres to win this group. That's really what
he really killed. Well, Gray, I guess, was 11th in Tanner, so not that far behind him. But and Purdy actually finished in 6th. So
Purdy,
this group ended up being. Yeah, this group ended up being a lot better than we thought. But top Ford, Rod, I had Matt Crafton at 12-1. Not Matt Crafton's day either. I think it is time to hit the panic button on Crafton because results have been getting much worse for him. 20th place. This was in case he who shall no longer be mentioned had a bad day, and he kind of sort of fucked it up at the end, but didn't quite fall far enough, unfortunately. So the driver of the 98 truck ends up finishing as the top Ford, Rod. So on to your next bet.
I was a couple of laps away from this one cashing. Chevy, the winning manufacturer, at plus 135. A Chevy should have probably ended up winning this race. I don't even know. Like Christian Eckes finished 2nd. I feel like that's where we should have ended the race right there. We should have just called it good and been done with that. But I don't know. Chase Purdy was getting chased down by Corey Heim at the end of this race as well. And then Chase Purdy, dropped into oblivion. And it was Heim time for the last, how many laps that it was, 27 laps of the race. No looking back.
Yes. Do you have the button handy, Rod?
Oh yeah, let me get this.
I chose to bet on this fellow this week.
Okay,
I
I'm ready.
decided this was the week I was going to get on it. The numbers were right. I took him top 3 plus 145. I took him to win the race plus 550. Win stage 1, win stage 2. Best, qualifiers in the poll. Best fucking truck out there. I'm like, all right, finally, he figured it out. He's going to get it done. I will no longer say the name.
Ready?
Thank you. Driver of the 98. He is on the shit list. He can fuck off because, god damn it, Rod. This is why I fade this guy every week. I should have fucking done it. Oh, it's so frustrating. And I would like to say, since he did not win this race, despite being the best driver, Corey Heim, guys were getting him in the Discord at plus 500 before this race went off. He should never be plus 500. You had to bet him. If you're not in the Discord, I know we got a new guy here on the show, Rude Boy. If you're a Discord guy, even if you're not a Discord guy, sg.pn/Discord. Jump in over there. This conversation continues throughout the entire week, and there's a bunch of other sports channels there as well. So, but yeah, fuck the driver of the 98 truck. I am done with him. I will no longer be betting on him. Yeah, damn it. So, Enfinger 950 gave him out as well. We talked about that already. And Ben Rhodes at 25-1. I mean, he was 7th place at the end of the day, top 5 near the end. So, I don't hate that. That's about the only bet that was good for me on the entire weekend, Rod. Because I didn't hit a single fucking truck bet this week, which is trucks have been our best series, I would argue. I mean, Xfinity's been pretty good to us, and trucks has been really good and just fucking missed everything this week. And that's what I get for not betting on Corey Heim for once, because should have just stuck with Heim time.
And I don't know. I have to go back and listen because I didn't go back and listen. I tend to not listen to myself half the time.
I don't like to listen. I don't know how you guys listen to this show. I ain't trying to do that.
I'm telling you right now, more often than not, when I go back and I tried to do quality control for the first, 25, 30 episodes. And then I was like, God, I'm annoying. Never mind.
When we first started and I was still like learning podcasting because I'd never done anything before we started the show, I would listen and think about how horrible I was. And now we're 400 and some episodes into it. So I just, this is what you're going to get. So,
and it seems to work. So I think we're not going to change it for
That's
nothing, but listen, I had Christian Eckes at 4-1. I thought that was an insane number. Start second, finish second, led 2 laps in this, the
last 3 seasons he's finished second place in this race. Rod. Just rough for him,
and he finished second in both of the stages. So I thought when Ty Majeski found the piano again, that it would be Eckes' turn. But turns out Corey Heim chases everybody down. And
unfortunately, JB likes my rage, says it's good for the soul. So
it is.
I'm glad that you enjoy it.
Nah, that definitely works. So, all right, we'll regroup. We'll do it all again next week for just the Xfinity and the Cup Series cars. Unfortunately, no trucks, but that means that we'll probably get a specific. Don't we get specific DFS
Xfinity DFS episode? Yeah, so schedule wise, we'll have the Cup Series will be tomorrow, Tuesday, and then Xfinity betting picks will be Wednesday. Thursday will probably be Cup DFS and underdog picks. Friday will probably be Xfinity DFS and underdog picks. F1 is back this week. They're in Canada, up there in JDK land. So we'll be back with an episode of the F1 Gambling Podcast as well. And of course, you can get that right here on this YouTube, or make sure you subscribe to the F1 Gambling Podcast feed if you want to listen over on the podcast side.
Yes, sir. Thanks for hanging with us in this recap edition. Thanks for putting up with this voice situation that's got going on. Hopefully through the course of the next
week. Notice, Rod. You sound beautiful.
I sit here can notice for sure. But thanks for hanging with us and recapping all of them. We're looking forward to breaking down all the bets from this coming week in NASCAR. Thanks to all of you who are joining us for the first time. Yep. Love it. Please join us in the Discord as we continue the
420 something. I don't know. We're 427. Is that right, Rod? Something like
that. We're at 427 now. Yeah.
Yes,
tomorrow will be 428. So.
Yep. And JDK saying F1 this week too. Yes. We just said that, JD. God, you even listened. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, F1 Gambling Podcast this week. They're going to be in Canada, JDK land. I think I just mentioned that. So
yep, he listens, but he downloads, but doesn't listen. So
that's all right. That counts too. But no, love you, JDK. All right, Rod. Follow me over on the X at @Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff over there. And see you tomorrow.
Indeed. See you tomorrow. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's Sportsbook Review, whether it's in between media. Make sure to go check out the boys over there on the back road, Seth and Elliot, breaking everything down for you week after week. I'll join them as soon as I'm done with my military commitments, but in the meantime, they'll hold it down for you as well. Cody and I'll be back tomorrow, breaking down some Cup Series bets for you. So again, join the Discord, sg.pn/Discord, and get in on the conversation as it continues to roll. See you guys tomorrow. Until then, let's go racing and let it ride.